Yo, what is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. It is another time for Caption This with Boss and Leonard, but no Leonard. No, Bruce is not in the Phantom Zone. He's doing shows. He's the big guy on tour right now, and it is Bruce and Charlie doing their whacked out crazy tour all across America, and they even brought their dogs. How cute. Ruff. And I hear from Bruce that sometimes Charlie, never mind. I didn't go there. But tonight is a special night. First of all, it is 1 week, and I get to go on my vacation in 1 week. I cannot freaking wait. I am burned the fuck out. I am burned out. Yours truly is burned out from comedy, burned out from selling, burned out from doing business of any kind. I want to go to my happy place, and my happy place is an arena full of Star Trek nerds. So I'm going to be going to the Rio next week to celebrate the 55th anniversary of Star Trek at the Las Vegas Comic-Con. But we are not here to talk about Star Trek right now. We are here to talk about wrestling. And we have a resident wrestling expert, the best of 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 the best. Marcus Dietz is here tonight. Marcus Dietz is here. He is going to be talking to us about an upcoming promotion that he has got going on. And I'm going to go full screen right now and take it over to Marcus. Hey, what's going on, Marcus? You are on live.
Rob, good to be here. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I hear that you are in demand. You consolidated. Bruce is talking about this the other day. He praised you for doing something. You said, you know what? I like comedy, but I want to focus on the wrestling. I'm going to consolidate, and you've been on a tear. So tell us about what's going on this weekend.
Yeah, next Sunday, I'm putting on a wrestling show.
What's that, the August 8th?
Yeah, August 8th, Sunday, at Versus Pro Studios inside, I think it's the Boulevard Mall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know all about Versus Pro Studios. I've been training there.
Have you? Wow.
Yes.
And your friend, has your friend been training?
Yes. We have, so me and Marcus are referring to a buddy of mine, Dier. I'll flash the picture in a second, but myself and Dier have been training to become wrestlers. Now, I don't want to wrestle, and I broke my fucking neck almost.
What?
Because they had me do a forward roll, and one of the guys' name is Wes, and he looked at me and he goes, do a forward roll. So you almost stand like a gorilla with your knuckles in front of you, and you tuck your neck and you do a forward roll. And he goes, I can work with that. And I said, cool. And I did a couple more. He's like, I can work with that. And I was like, cool. But they were not great. Then he goes, do a back roll. Now he wasn't there for that. The back roll fucked me up. Let me explain something to you. Oh, I haven't got the dual screen yet. I'm going to go back to me for a sec. Going on a back roll and having all your weight come down on your neck sideways. Oh, no. That's what it was. It was a fucking nightmare. And the trainer was like, what did you come here for? And I'm like, to manage this guy. And they were like, yeah, we'll teach you some management stuff. So they taught me how to do like leg picks and things. But back to you. Now, Marcus, I want to say this to you. You have a reputation. And good or bad, you have a reputation amongst anything. So me and my buddy Dier, we go in, and I'm going to have to pull up the picture. We go into Versus Pro, and we run into Deshade.
Okay.
Deshade is a wrestler. Yeah, he's a good guy, and he's got one of the Versus Pro Studio belts on him. Okay. And I went.
I think he's the tag champ right now.
Right.
I think him and Wes are tag champs.
But he's also got like a rainbow belt on.
Okay, I think that's an FSW championship.
Maybe, I don't know. So, so he comes in, and he goes, "Well, who do you know?" And me and Dier look at each other, and we go, "Marcus." And they go, "Who?" "Hi, my name is Marcus. What's going on, guys?" And here's what they said. One guy rolled his eyes and went, "That fucking guy."
Oh, wow.
And then the next guy goes, "Wait a minute. He had a wrestling show the other week. Yeah. He had one in Henderson at the arena on Water Street." And they went, "What?" Yeah. "Well, who did he get?" And we went, he got funny bone. And they went,
Yes.
he got fucking funny bone? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's what they
Wow.
said. They went, oh, shit. And they went, he's taking this seriously.
Yeah.
So you got praise.
Yeah. So we're putting on a wrestling show. We're gonna have a little mini tournament, and we're gonna crown a champion next Sunday at Versus Pro Studios. The show is gonna be called Kets Pro Presents Deep Blue Siege. Tickets are $15. Right now we got Funny Bone versus Papa Jace, which has never happened. This is a match that's never happened, and I think it's going to be a crazy match. I think it's going to be an instant classic. We've got Jody himself versus Jay Cafe. They came into the business together. They were good friends. So I think that's going to be a really good match. I've got Remy Marcel, who's the Nevada state champion right now. He's going to face PB Smooth, who is a 7-foot giant, all the way from the East Coast. It's gonna be a hard hitting match. We got Gino Rivera versus Sandra Moon, and these are all qualifier matches. What we're gonna do is we're gonna have these matches, and then we're gonna have a 6-man elimination match.
Well, can I interrupt you 1 second?
Absolutely.
All right, so what I'm going to do is just post this up so everyone sees it there. And that's what we're talking.
Post the flyer?
Yeah, we got the flyer up, the Deep Blue Siege flyer.
Yes.
And August 8th at Versus Pro City Studios, 6:30 bell time. And that is, if I'm not mistaken, that is my trainer there in the corner. Is that not Wes and Deshade?
Shade and Wes? Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, they're going to have a tag match against so it's Affirmative Action, which is their tag team. They're going to have a tag match against Creature Feature, which is Lazarus and Adriel. And the person who pins the loser, will go on in the tournament. So one guy on one of those teams is going to go on to the tournament. And then we have Gino Rivera and Sandra Moon. And Ricky Tenacious versus Maserati. So I think that's my match card. We're going to have all those matches. We're going to decide who the winners are. And then they're going to have an elimination match for the Kets Pro Oceanum title. And,
Kets Pro Oceanum title. That's a mouthful.
Yeah. I'm excited.
It.
I posted a picture of it earlier. It's a beautiful belt. I don't know if you've seen it.
No, I haven't.
But I'm super excited to crown our first ever champion.
Now let me ask you a question. Where did the idea of Kets Pro come from? What's Kets Pro mean? What does that mean?
So Ket stands for Kraken Eats the Shark. And
I did not know that. Okay. I had no idea.
You've been my friend for a while. You've probably noticed me post Kraken Eats the Shark stuff. It kind of came, it was going to start as a skate brand. And then it kind of evolved into something else. And I decided to roll with that. And see, Kets has been like a childhood dream for me. I've always wanted to be involved in wrestling since I was like 5.
Okay.
And I was always told that I was too small to be a pro wrestler, that I didn't have the height. I didn't have, that kind of thing. So I was like, well, I still want to be involved. So I'm going to promote some shows and see how it goes. I want to be in the business even if I can't, wrestle.
Well, let me see. I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to show some pictures to everybody of my time at. So
hey, how many bumps did they have you take in the beginning?
Well, they had me do rolls. So here's me. Okay. There's me in my Vegeta T-shirt. And there's my buddy Dier. In the center is Wes. Deshade is not there. But there's some guys, and these guys are incredible. The guy who's looking like Spider-Man is just fucking phenomenal. There's me, and that's what I use as my profile picture right now. Let me get back to Marcus. There we go. I showed them your Facebook page for a second there with your parents.
Wait, what happened?
I think I flashed your Facebook page with your parents for a second. Is that them? Or your grandparents?
I don't know. I can only see you in the green screen.
Okay, not a problem. Well, in any case, I had fun there. They had me do rolls. Forward rolls weren't the problem. Wes was liking. He's like, I could work with you. Then they had another dude, a white guy, real tone body, like in shape. Guy's probably a yoga master too. White guy, long hair.
Blonde hair?
Oh, no, okay. like brunette hair guy, brown hair guy. And he had his girlfriend who was with him, and she was pretty good too. He tried to get me to do a reverse, and my whole neck went sideways, and that was bad. And and again, I'm there to be a manager. My thing was, I saw Paul Heyman type. They asked me, Wes asked me, what kind of manager do you want to be? What do you think this is? And I said, and I blurted out the first names that popped into my mind. I said, Paul Heyman. I said Paul Heyman, and then the other one I said was the Invisible Hand. The hell is his name? Don Callis.
Oh, okay, Don Callis.
And he said to me,
so you just want to be the angry East Coast guy.
Well, Don Callis just popped into my head. It was a name. It was just a name that popped into my head. And I was just like, all right, now I'm gonna take I'm gonna be very generous with this picture of Don Callis because he's really, that's Don Callis, and he was a wrestler back in the 90s in the Attitude Era, and then he became an executive vice president of Impact Wrestling.
Okay.
And if you watch,
I don't know much about Don Callis. Before you started coming out with Kenny Omega, I didn't really know much about him.
So Don Callis, Chris Matthews. I want to say Chris Matthews. That's MSNBC. Josh Matthews was was doing
Tough
color.
enough guy.
What? Tough enough guy. And
Tough
Josh
enough,
Matthews was doing color on TNA, and he was doing it with Mike Tenay. Mike Tenay.
How long ago was this?
This is like 6-7 years ago.
Okay,
so he comes out
when TNA was good.
Yeah, when TNA was good. So Impact Wrestling is like literally it's if I'm gonna count WWE as just one thing. I'm not gonna say SmackDown and Raw. I consider it to be really one entity because all the money goes to Vince. So it's and just in Raw viewers, it got 2 million and 2 million each of the nights. It's WWE, then AEW as far as importance goes, and then you've got Impact Wrestling and New Japan and Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
And then all of the other ones, Hollywood Pro Wrestling, Future Stars of Wrestling, lower and lower down the promotions.
Okay.
Before Impact Wrestling was bought out by Anthem, it was owned by Dixie Carter, who was like, family was like an oil tycoons or something, and they bought TNA. TNA had Josh Matthews, and they had Mike Tenay. Mike Tenay, the professor, was from WCW.
Yes.
So it was Mike Tenay and Taz, Mike Tenay and Josh Matthews, and Josh Matthews is Michael Cole Light.
Yeah.
And Josh Matthews was doing WrestleManias. He was big. He was on the way up, and then they cut his ass. And the behind the scenes was he was difficult to work with.
Okay.
So he's doing it, and then one day he loses Tenay. So then they had the ring announcer Jeremy Borash, who was the ring announcer. He starts doing color with them. He leaves.
Okay.
So now it's Mike Tenay's gone, Jeremy Borash gone, Taz is gone. Then who shows up? Don Callis.
Okay.
And I don't know who the guy is, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together that he was the Jackal from the 90s.
Oh, okay.
So he was
Don
the
Callis.
Jackal.
Okay.
From the Attitude Era WWE. And here, let me pull up a picture of him.
See, I didn't know that.
And he was the Jackal in the 90s WWE. I'm going to cover you with him real quick. And so he was the Jackal, and he had a full head of black hair. And did I lose you?
No, I'm still here.
All right, I don't see it. I just got a picture of you in front of the mic. I'm going to replace you with the Jackal in a second.
Okay.
There you are.
Okay.
So the thing was, he shows up and he's got these rose-colored glasses on, the same gimmick that he has now, but he was neutral.
Okay.
You didn't know anything about him. So it was interesting when he showed up in AEW because I already know who he was because I've been watching Impact Wrestling for 10 years.
Okay.
And here he is. And I'm like, this is interesting. He's talking about his relationship with Kenny Omega back in New Japan, his father. He talks about Gotch and all these other wrestlers. Now I'm learning more about the guy, and he's playing this as a heel manager. Okay. And then when he comes out and he pulls out the microphone and beats Moxley over the head, now I'm like, damn it. Now they just rose the value of Impact Wrestling because there's no way you're not going to bring this back to the other promotion. So this is what they're talking about when they said we've opened the forbidden door.
Right.
There was never cross-promotion stuff done. The last time there was cross-promotion stuff was when Shane McMahon showed up at WCW and said, I run the place now.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, well, people like to, I don't understand why companies don't like to work together. I just think, like for instance, every time I talk to a wrestling fan, they always have their favorite promotion.
Right.
And then right after they name their favorite promotion, they start talking bad about another promotion. And
I know a guy like that. I know a guy who's got a podcast, and he hates AEW.
So it's strange to me when you wouldn't want to work with other companies because then you have cross fan bases.
Oh,
you have more people to see your product, and then you have more people to experience something new, and then it helps everybody. So I don't understand why people don't work together more.
Now, there's a promotion out there, and the problem is it's aired on Vice. Do you know Vice News?
Yes.
Okay. So Vice is its own channel now. It used to just be news that would air after Real Time with Bill Maher. Right. And now they have a whole network, and they air MLW Wrestling, which is shot from Dallas. And
okay.
I was
they have Hammerstone. Hammerstone's in MLW.
Right. Well, I'm watching this because I recorded it, and I want to see what their promotion's like. And who's the first person I see? Maxwell Jacob Freeman. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is pre-recorded from 2 years ago.
Okay.
So and by the way, they have the same champion. They've got I want to say Haka or something. He's a cousin of Roman Reigns.
Okay.
And he's been their champion since then. So they won't take the belt off him. It's the same thing as NWA. Their champion is Nick Aldis, and he's been the champion for like 3 fucking years.
Yeah, he's you know where he started?
Impact Wrestling.
In Vegas. He actually started at FSW.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
And you know who's his wife?
No.
Mickie James.
Wow.
Mickie James is porking him. He shot a kid in her.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. I shouldn't say pork. I would oh my God, Mickie James, man. Whatever she asked me to do.
Sir, that's somebody's wife.
But he would kick the shit out of me.
When you were training, so how many times have you been out to train?
Well, so for the month of June, I went about 4 or 5 times. Now, you were talking to me about Freak Show Wrestling, and you had mentioned somebody. I don't want to give her name unless you're cool with that. But you had given me a name of a person who was a promoter for Freak Show Wrestling, and she said it was $25 for every training session a month.
A session.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. So then I talked to a friend of ours whose name I can never seem to remember his name. With the beard and the comb in the beard. Well, why is it always? I
know this.
Yes.
He has that. Ty
Siaric. Ty Siaric is training to become a ref. So he went to Future Stars, and I asked him, and when you're talking with, and I'll just resume to me real quick. When you're talking to comedians, Comedians are either they don't want to be bothered in their own universe, they're high, or they're trying to remember their set and they're nervous. He wanted to talk to me about all the wrestling stuff. So I was like, well, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
He's doing what I'm doing, but he wants to be a ref. And so Ty C. Irick is telling me it's $25 a session.
Okay.
Versus Pro Studios is 25 a session or 100 for the whole month.
Okay.
So for the month of June, we were about a third of the way into June. My buddy Deere goes to me, hey, we're doing this shit. And I'm like, all right, here, $100. Boom, tap my card, $100. And we go, and I go about 5, 6, 7 times. Deere does about 13, 14 times. Starts to get real good. He can jump over the third rope. He can take bumps. He can lock up. I don't know if he can do any kip ups like Willie Mack. But so Deere he's learning, and he's getting and he's getting a rhythm.
Okay.
Month of July comes around. Okay, it's Monday. Is anyone there? No. It's Tuesday. Is anyone there? No. It's Wednesday. I can't make it that day. It's all right. I'm selling. So now, like 2.5 weeks have gone by. He's gone 4 or 5 times. I haven't gone once yet. So for the entire month of July, I went once. And I went in, and they were just, and I'm like, well, who's here? And they're like, one of the guys was setting up equipment and putting up a faux wall or doing some work. And he was like, just come in. I remember you guys. Just do your thing. So I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. And all I did was run the ropes. All I did was go back.
That's part of it is like, how bad do you want it?
Well, for me, it wasn't the physical. I mean, yes, there's a physicality. I wanted to be the manager, and I want to. My thing, and it's the same thing I'll say. Say about with my relationship with Bruce is you got to get on the same page and in a rhythm. Yeah. So my thing with him is, they're telling me tricks to be a manager, and my buddy's off in the corner talking to somebody else about something. I'm like, get over here because I have to now be your eyes and ears.
Right.
And the way they're explaining it to me is like, you've got to watch the ref, you've got to hype up the audience, and you've also got to be calling moves for the guy that you're managing because, they were saying Paul Heyman is shouting out all of Brock Lesnar's moves. Choke him out! Brock! Drop him up! Do the clothesline! And he's shouting out moves. And he's not just doing it to be outlandish. He's basically wrapping up his job to call this guy's moves and doing it at the same time to be a personality.
Yeah.
So that's where I got to get on the same page with my buddy. My buddy's in the early stages of trying to develop his character.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I'm not somebody who you should take any advice from, because I'll tell you my experience with training is I have a friend named Karen whose husband is Sin Bodhi.
Okay, so we are talking about similar person from before.
Yeah, Karen Creep is her Facebook name.
Yeah, and that's FSW.
She's with
Freak Show Wrestling.
Sin Bodhi.
Yeah.
Who is formerly known as Kizarny and WWE.
Okay.
He had a promotion called Freak Show Wrestling. And they would have like a lot of different stuff. They had like a Serial Man, and they had like God Wrestle, and they had
Michael Jackson.
They had very gimmicky. Oh well, I think the Michael Jackson impersonator is strictly an FSW thing.
I've met him. He showed up, and I was watching him. His
little brother does comedy with us.
Okay, out there in Texas.
Oh, in Vegas.
In Vegas. Okay.
Yeah. So how I got into it was I asked Karen one time if I could take photos for a freak show. So I was taking photos, and I'm trying to learn how to, do that kind of thing. And then I asked her about doing training, because I wanted to be a manager too. And she's like, it's $25. You come, you pay, you get to train with. At the time, Freak Show had Sin Bodhi D'Lo Brown, Jake the Snake Roberts. Those were the 3 trainers. So I go to Freak Show. I pay my $25, and D'Lo Brown is the trainer for the day. So everybody's kind of doing their own thing because everybody's more has been training longer than I have. So D'Lo Brown pulls me aside and he's like, "Hey, I want you to take a bump." So he teaches me how to take a bump. You know, you cross your arms, you lean back, you protect your neck, you know, that kind of thing. You take a bump. So I take my first bump and he's like, "Okay, do it again." So I take a second bump. He says, "Okay, do it again." I take my third bump and he says, "Okay, you look like you're getting a little tired."
Did he? Wait, hold on now. Did he do the when you met him? Did he do the?
No.
They didn't do the. He didn't do the.
No, he didn't do any of that. I'll tell you a funny story. So I take about 8 more bumps.
Okay.
And then this is after like they had the building was in like one of those like a business complex. So we'd run around the complex a couple times, and then we would do some squats and stuff, and then we started taking bumps. So I'm 350 pounds. You know, this was rough for me. I was tired.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah.
So I take about 8 or 9 bumps, and D'Lo's like, "All right, you gotta stop."
Yeah, but the funny thing is, D'Lo Brown is not a light guy himself.
No, but he's also like
he's trained for it.
He's in better shape than I am.
Yeah,
he's been doing this for a really long time.
How long ago was this?
This was about 2 years ago.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So
if I run into D'Lo Brown and I go, "Hey, you remember Marcus Dietz?"
He's not gonna remember me.
Okay, fair. You know, I like the honesty there. I like the fact that you're honest about it. You're just like, look, I got the chance to work with him. Yeah. It wasn't like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah. So it was like a one-off, and then I ride the bus and I go home where I'm staying at the time, and you know, whatever. I didn't have any more money, so I didn't go for a while. But yeah, I think if you really like, your friend seems to really love wrestling, and he really wants the air. He really wants to wrestle.
His idea is he wants to do 10 years. He wants to he's 31 years old.
Yeah.
And he wants to develop a character. And I have this paranoia because it's kind of like something that he's been crafting and I've been helping him craft. And I don't want to put it out there because sometimes, you know, God forbid that one person tunes in and gets an idea and all of a sudden next week they show up with the gimmick.
Right.
I mean, there's a wrestler named Kiera Hogan on Impact Wrestling, and she came up with this idea of coming out with fiery red hair. She's a short black chick, and she's going to come out and be burning and on fire. And then a week later, Ember Moon shows up on, NXT.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Well, how the fuck? Oh, my God. They were in training together at NXT training camp in Tampa or whatever. And they
were discussing ideas.
And by the way, the same thing happened in the realm of sci-fi. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. My buddy has been working on a Star Trek script for years.
Okay.
It's called Star Trek Cardinal. He even had me help him design the starship for it. And we go to lots of shows. We go to shows in Secaucus. We went to a show out here in Las Vegas before I moved out here, and we're pitching the show. Then there's a break of about 4 or 5 years. He goes and gets married. He starts going in another direction. And I go to a Star Trek convention, and 3 guys are telling me about Star Trek Renegades. And I go, wait a minute. Well, what's the plot? Well, it's a crew run by a Coast Guard version of a Starfleet ship with Klingons and Romulans, and everyone's multicultural, and they're all serving on board, and the ship's made from all the parts of other ships. I'm like, wait a minute, that's our story. Whoa.
Right.
Who did you speak to a guy named Sal? And he goes, Sal? An Italian guy could, hey, how you doing? Yeah. We were at a learning annex with him in New York. And I went,
Son of a bitch.
You stupid.
Yep.
And I called him up. You stupid bastard. You went to
Yeah.
a learning annex and shared something, didn't copyright it, didn't get any rights to your intellectual property, and somebody ran with it. So I'm so
Right.
paranoid about talking about, even for this
Yeah.
exploratory stage of where I'm at in wrestling, to talk about my friend's gimmick.
So all I suggest your friend does is continue to train and learn the basics. And every time that there's a seminar in town where it's like AR Fox comes to town for $20, you do a 3-hour seminar. Go to as many of those as you can, and just be a sponge and learn as much as you can from as many different people as you can.
I like that idea. I mean,
Continue to go to Versus.
Yeah.
Get a good relationship with Versus. Go as often as you can. If you can go once a week, that's good, and just continue to learn from people that know what they're doing, and then learn the basics, and then go to as many seminars as you can and just learn. Don't worry about characters and
get the maneuvers down.
Get the basics down to where you can do the basics, back, forwards, left, right, blindfolded. Get all that, and then when it's time, there'll be a time when it's time to work on a gimmick. But right now, focus on learning everything you can from as many people as you can.
It's like going in Need for Speed games and painting the car and putting a body kit on it without having the engine done.
Right. Why would you worry about the flashiness if the motor doesn't run right?
Right. Well, yeah, I've done that a few times. That's why I'm driving a new car, because I melted the engine on the old one coming out here.
Yeah.
No, what you're saying makes sense. In other words, get the essentials down. And that's what you hear in almost anything you want to go in. Understand the mechanics of what you're doing, and then you could put a coat of paint on it.
It's like comedy. You write 5 minutes, and then you work on that 5 minutes for 6 months.
Yes.
Until that 5 minutes is back, forwards, left, right. You got to make sure that those 5 minutes are solid before you write your second 5.
Right. And you know what? I was going to ask you about that. Have you been now? And you're focused. I could tell right now that you are in a great place with this. You're putting your energy behind it, and you're staying focused like a laser. But have you done any comedy out in Texas?
I've done a little bit. It's so I went to a Wednesday mic at El Pueblitos.
El Pueblitos.
It's a little Mexican bar, and I'm with my wife, and we're eating dinner while we're waiting for comedy to start. And then I sign up like 5th or 6th. And then the show starts, and they have a guest host, and I don't think she's ever hosted before, but she's hosting, and there's the 4th person comes up, and I look at my wife, and I'm like, okay, babe, I got to get ready. I got to take those few minutes to get ready, like we all do. So I take a few minutes, and I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to go up. So the 6th person gets called, and I'm like, what's going on? And then the 7th person gets called.
And where were you on the list?
I'm 5th.
Oh, so they just skipped you.
Yeah, so they just skipped me.
This is
the 8th person.
This is a sign. This is a sign. It's like, stay out of comedy.
The 8th person gets called. And then the 9th person. And then I'm like, you know what? There's something going on. I'm going to go to the host and see what's going on. So I go up to the host and I say, hey, I'm a comic. I signed up 5th. What happened? And she goes, oh, I didn't know who you were, so I didn't call your name. And I said, ma'am, she said, I looked at you and I thought you were just a customer. And I said, ma'am, how open mics work is you sign up at a number and then you get called. She didn't even call and say, hi, is Marcus Dietz here? She just skipped me full.
Why would you? And here's the thing: like, the logic is fucking flawed, because it's like, wait a minute. So if I'm here to eat, why would I already eating? By the way, why would I now go and grab another list, put my name on another list? That doesn't make any sense.
Right. So that's kind of been my experience with comedy here is that kind of stuff. Like one time I drove, because I'm in the sticks outside of Houston. I'm in a place called San Leon.
San Leon?
It's like an hour and a half from the middle of Houston.
Oh, okay. So what
So
access do you have to like a nightlife?
So I drive like an hour and a half to go to any mic.
Wow. So now, how many times have you done that?
A couple. So I'll work a shift, and then I'll get off, and then I'll go, okay, babe, I'm gonna go do comedy. So I'll drive an hour and a half, and I'll get to a place, and they say that signups are like 8, but the list went out at 7. So I get there, and there's 37 people signed up. And I got to work in the morning, so I'm like, well, I guess I'm not going to stay here till 3 a.m.
No.
I guess I'm not doing comedy tonight, so I'll go and drive another hour and a half to go home.
Ah, that sucks.
So
that
a
sucks.
lot of it is very like who you know, clicky, and then it's also like hosts that don't know what they're doing and they don't call your name.
My first experience with comedy was I went to Boomers, which was on a back alley.
I remember that place.
Of the Station Palace.
They loved me. They loved me. Black women love laughing at me.
because you're a big guy and they love that shit and
they love the gay stuff.
Yeah, so when you're talking about, I just had my first lesbian experience, or I just sucked a dick, and now they that shit it's so off color for them. They love that.
Yes.
But they don't do it by order. So in other words, Boomers, Donnie was the host of Boomers, and you come in and
I remember him, Donnie Menace.
Yes. And you come into Boomers and you're the second guy in the room. And he goes, "What's your name?" My name is Rob Bossolari, but my friends call me Boss. 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 Yes. All right, Boss. We'll see what we do. Now, he wants to squeeze as much laughter. So if he doesn't know you, he's not going to ignore you, but you're going to be near the bottom. You're going to be near the bottom. You're going to be there for the barflies who are just half out of it. You're going to be there for Valerie, who's the sweetest woman on the universe.
Yeah. Yes.
For those of you who don't know, Valerie is lovely young woman who goes and attends all of the comedy shows and is just the ultimate fan of people who are starting out, and she's the most supportive person.
She's a very big supporter of comedy.
The best.
Yeah.
The best. And she makes it. She's been to the shows.
She's such a fan that she's allowed in the comics only Facebook groups.
Yes. So just picture I just say young black woman with a short hairdo, big smile on her face, big bright white pearly smile.
And that's at every comedy show.
Sweetest person you'll ever meet. And she just comes in there and she wants to take your picture. She wants to get to know you.
Stop it. You're making me miss comedy.
Oh, Marcus, I'm so happy to see you. Oh, are you going up today? Please tell me you're going up today.
Let me get your picture, baby.
Let me get a picture with you. Oh, look at that. Can I put that up? And she always asks, can I put that up?
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
Good. I'm so happy to see you. And you're just like, now that doesn't happen anywhere else. I've not heard anything about LA being like that. I know New York's not like that. New York is like, so if you want to get on an open mic tonight,
hey there, bud. Hey, bud.
You have to book 2 days in advance. And I said that to Johnny Brim, a comedian, about booking a spot for an open mic. He goes, "Rob, you freaking idiot! You don't book an open mic." Actually, you do book open mics because you got to call in advance and book a spot just to get on an open mic, and you might have to bark or put a cover down or buy 2 drinks. That's how it was.
That's how it was for me with my boy Anthony when we went to LA. So we went to LA for a weekend to do comedy. And we show up to the first mic and they said, this is a booked mic that got booked 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, what are you supposed to do then?
I said, oh, okay, thank you. So we go to our next mic and they say, hey, it's a $20 mic. You get 5 minutes.
Woo!
There's 1 spot left, so only one of you can go up.
It's like
So we're
Russian
like,
roulette.
well, yeah, it's like I don't really want to do that. So let's go to the Comedy Store. So we went to the Comedy Store, and there was a, what do they call it? A bucket mic. They had a bucket mic where they pull your name out of a bucket. You get 2 minutes, and then you can start the car. And there's maybe a chance that you get to go up. So we're sitting
So that's
there,
like LA Comedy Club that happened that night.
Yeah, so we're sitting there and we're waiting and we're hanging out, and Bill Burr comes in and sits 2 seats away from me and Anthony. Just sits down and just hangs out for a minute. And I look over and I go, oh, that's fucking Bill Burr. I go,
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you doing? Hey.
I go,
you doing comedy? It's great.
I go, listen, I go, Anthony, hey, Bill Burr's sitting 2 seats away. And Bill Burr looks at me and he goes, so. And then Bill Burr goes up and he does 10 minutes of brand new material. I'm not going to talk about his material because that's a shitty thing to do. But he does 10 minutes.
But it was good.
The crowd goes wild. Everybody loved him. And then he just leaves. He just gets off stage and leaves. He's like, oh, I guess I'm going to go to my next spot. So he goes to his next spot. But that's my experience with LA comedy. I went the next day. I went to a place called The Fourth Wall.
The Fourth Wall.
The Fourth Wall.
Okay.
And I sign up, and it's $10 to do 5 minutes. I do my little $10. I was like, all right, I got to do comedy. I came all the way here. I want to do comedy.
Right.
So that fan is the headliner or whatever.
Dat Fan. Oh my God. God.
Dat Fan goes up there and he does 10 minutes about how when he was on that show, Last Comic Standing.
Yeah.
How he got so famous afterwards that he had sex with like 3,000 women in 2 years, that he was riding the high of his experience from Last Comic Standing, because he almost won it. He got second place. Who was I think Ralphie May won it.
And let me say right now, 3,000 women were not fucking Ralphie May.
No.
Jeez. Yeah, no. Ralphie May did win that year. He did.
3,000 women fucked that fan.
Well, hold on a second. Now this is incredible. That fan is literally, he's like Vietnamese kind. Oh my God.
Yeah, that fan. But he's like a regular at the Fourth Wall. He just hangs out, plays guitar, lives his life.
Hold on. This is
comics about his 2 years.
This is what he looks like now. He's got bags under his eyes. He's got the Manny Pacquiao haircut.
Yes. Plays guitar, hangs out, talks about the 3,000 women he had sex with.
And this is when he was fucking 3,000 women with his spiky, gelled up hair.
Yes.
Oh my God. Get the fuck out of here.
Yes.
Get out of here. That's fucking crazy. That's crazy.
So that's my experience with LA comedy.
I wanted to do it in New York, and I've said this before. I went to an open mic, and it was like 4 people in a room.
Yeah.
With a sound equipment that was meant for a way larger room, so you're just standing like an inch away from the amps, and it's just feedback galore. You've got a massive stage spotlight in a room that's like fucking 30 by 30. It's hot. And it's fine. It's a first experience, but I did it when I was like 21, and I'm coming from Westchester County, New York, and to get into Manhattan is a pain in the ass. And if there were, and I always say, if I wanted to do a concerted effort to find out what spots there were in Westchester, I could have. I just thought, go to Manhattan. It's an hour drive. It's maybe an hour by train. Either way, it's a pain in the ass. And I'm like, you know what? This is the experience. And it was just me trying to tell jokes that I've told to people 1,000 times. And my friend is laughing at the setup before the punchline.
Yeah.
And that doesn't help.
Yeah.
It's like, ah! Oh my God, for fuck's sake. But there's like 3 people in the room and they're comics. And comics are a shitty audience. If you get a comic to laugh, you did something incredible. But otherwise, there's no premise that they haven't heard before. What are you going to do? A race premise? What are you going to do? A weight premise? A political premise? You can do an impersonation? You know? If I do an impersonation of Trump, it's hokey to them.
I hit a peak in comedy where I just felt like it was better for me to focus on something else.
Yeah.
And that's why I decided to finally, because I got it. I don't tell a lot of people this, Rob, but I got into comedy because I wanted to feel confident enough to talk to people and be a manager in pro wrestling. I wanted to be able to cut promos. I wanted to be able to get that heel heat or, the baby rub any way I could. And I wanted to be comfortable enough doing it. So I figured if I'm broke and poor and homeless, which, for the most part I've been during comedy, I figured I don't have the money to really pursue, $100, $200 a month at a promotion to learn how to manage. So I was like, if I can do comedy and I can get comfortable in front of a crowd and I can learn to talk in front of people, because that was a big fear for me. A big fear for me was public speaking. And I think it's a big fear for a lot of comics before they get into comedy. But my big fear was public speaking. So I was like, you know what, if I can get comfortable talking in front of people, I can pursue the real dream that I have of being a pro wrestling manager. And I hit a peak in comedy where I was like, you know what, it's better for me to take a break from this and to pursue what I really want to pursue, which is pro wrestling. And I worked a bunch and I saved a bunch of money and I'm working 60 hours a week at a job I'm not too fond of. I want to make sure it's covered. Doing what I have to do to put on these wrestling shows. So I'm really excited to see this thing I've dreamt about doing come to fruition. Rob, I can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I cut my own mic.
Okay.
For me, I wanted to do radio. And I did it, but it didn't pay the bills. And that sucks when you're getting paid $7 an hour and you're just going 103.9 WFAS, and we've got sounds of 70s, 80s, 90s, and today. And WFAS stands for Westchester Fun all summer, and you can have fun watching Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Nicks, and crew all at the Foxwoods Casino in Connecticut if you're caller number 10. And that was fun. It was not bad, and there were people getting paid a good amount of money to do exactly what I just said, and do it that way, more or less, and get paid $100,000 a year, maybe $70,000, maybe even $50,000.
Yeah.
You're not living well at 50, but you're living. And the other thing I wanted to do was voiceovers. And LA is where the work was at, but now there's Voices 1, 2, 3. There's ways to upload content remotely. You don't have to be anywhere.
Yeah.
So for me, it's always that, okay, I have to write a thesis, but I don't know how to write the first paragraph, so I can't get any work done.
Okay.
And I said this to Bruce. I said, when I was in college, I had to write a 25-page thesis. I didn't start it until the night before. And I sat there for hours into the morning with nothing written. So I said, well, fuck it. I don't know how to write the beginning. I'm just going to go right to the middle, and then I'll tack on a beginning later. And that's what I did, and I got a B+.
Okay.
And it was mostly for, like typos, grammatical errors.
You bullshitted your way into a B+.
Well, no, that was like, I knew the subject matter. I didn't know how to start it. I could do a voice. I could do an impersonation. And it might be something that you've heard before, but I could do somebody. I mean, that's why I do you, because immediately you have such a recognizable voice and personality that I can break the ice for some people. Like Ian, the producer in Vegas, loves me doing an impersonation of you.
Yeah.
Or me doing an impersonation of you getting angry for me doing an impersonation of you. And He'll go, hey, could you do it? And I'm like, all right, so I'll do it. But I had some random guy on the street I was talking to, and he was one of these conspiracy theory guys, and I started breaking into Trump. And I was going, let me tell you something. Nobody's done more for the country than I have. Who has given you the vaccines? I've got so many, the tremendous vaccines. No, so many beautiful vaccines, people. And then nobody, and he was laughing, and he goes, that might be.
And you won him over, right?
I won him over with that, and I like doing that. For Vegas, it's either too hokey, people have heard it a million times, or they want some weird, obscure reference. Ryan Barras is a great comedian. Maya Jamie, and they'll pull an obscure reference, or they'll do something and they'll do like a morbid twist on it. Like Maya Jamie's got the joke of Clifford, the big red dog, dying, and then they have to find a way to bury him on the weekend.
Yes.
And I go, that mind that could create that is remarkable. I can't work in that. I tell stories. Hey, Jason's there. Yes, I do believe in life after love. You believe in life? I like telling stories, and I like impersonating people. I like doing their mannerisms, and I like being able to do voiceovers. And it doesn't work when you've got 5 minutes.
Right.
It doesn't work. And Bruce has no patience, so that's the difficulty.
That's why you got to find something that you enjoy doing with that. You know what I mean? You got to do voiceover work, or you got to do, like radio stuff, where you have a longer period of time to do those.
Hence this.
For me, if I was you and I wanted to do all that, I would do a YouTube segment where you do the radio.
Yeah.
In all those different voices.
I see what you're saying.
You do what like Robin Williams did in Good Morning Vietnam, but you do it for a YouTube segment with the green screen behind you, where you can bring up all the stuff that you're talking about.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And you do that in like a 15-minute increment episodes.
Yeah, because then I can do like down.
I think that would do really well.
1976. I brought many buildings in 1976, but then we've got this guy right here, Chuck Mangione. They said that I could play the trumpet better than anyone, but I said, why not let him do it? So here we're gonna play this song. I could have done it better, but I'll let him do it. All right. And then I would like, that's an idea.
Just pop off with different voices and do it, have different characters involved.
Yeah. I mean, and that's an idea. That's definitely an idea.
Yeah, because honestly, with comedy, when you only have 5 minutes, you have to win people over in the first 10 seconds.
Oh yeah, it's the same thing as sales. When somebody walks through a door, the place I work at now, I used to, and we could break the fourth wall. We all got day jobs at this stage of life. I worked at Fry's Electronics. Customer comes in, they wander around, they get hassled by 9 customers. By 9 salesmen. I work at a place now called Cons. Whomever walks through the door is your customer. You're in a one system. I am stuck with that person. This is this is a speed dating.
Right.
Of sorts. And I got to go, hi, my name is Rob. Hey, what's going on? Hey, leave you alone? Yeah, hi. And then I got to decide, can I engage this person? Can I tell jokes with them?
Is it worth my time? Yeah.
You're right. And so when I got onto the comedy stage, there's 3 different crowds. There's your bar crowd that doesn't want to be bothered. There's a white hipster audience
watching a basketball game.
Right. Black audience don't fuck around. They're here to, if you're going to tell jokes, they are engaged. White audience, they may or may not be into it. You don't know what kind of a white crowd you're getting. Are they conservative? Are they smart asses? Are they progressives? You don't know which way. Are they going to be groaning and everything? Are they just going to? You don't know what you're going to get. So that was my experience. And if I want to sit there and Ian goes, "Hey, Rob, do Marcus Dietz." Well, Marcus doesn't work here, or doesn't do. So if I'm going to do Marcus Dietz, and now nobody gets the reference anymore because he's been gone for 3 months, Well, now nobody gets a reference, so it doesn't make sense. It's not topical anymore, even for Vegas.
Right.
If I do, and then if I do Bruce, well, it's really only going to work. Like you're watching me with Bruce every week, so if I get out there and go, hey, me and Charlie are going to go around the country, and then when we go around the country, I'm going to go around Charlie.
Right.
So now I could do Bruce, and Bruce doing all the filthy thing. Yeah, I brought both my dogs. I brought Traveler, and I've been traveling up Charlie's ass for 3 weeks. And I see, now you roll your eyes and go, see, so now I know my reaction would be now, oh shit, if there's a room full of guys who are thinking, I don't want to hear sex jokes, that's a low-hanging branch.
Right.
Now I got to pivot. Oh, we got Ian. We've got Ian watching us. So, hey, Ian Rainier, what's going on? So Ian loves when I do you, and he loves when I do Bruce. And Bruce makes it easy because Bruce, first of all, he smokes like 5 packs a day. So he sounds like Krusty the Clown. Yeah. He sounds like Krusty the Clown's father. Hey, Charlie. Oh, God. Yeah. Fucking, what's with these people out there? Fucking Donald Trump puts on a fucking trucker hat. And now all these hillbillies like him. He's got a trucker hat on. He's one of us. The hat makes it so. Yeah. And he's got the thing where he does the nervous tick.
Bruce's gimmick, and people really, he has worked on that for so long that he knows from his first bit if the rest of this stuff's gonna work.
Right. Yes, because you can tell. But when it doesn't, his face starts to fall. But he'll pivot quickly. Quickly. You, if it doesn't work, it works out because you could go, so yesterday I went to the Jimmy John's. And if nobody laughs, it's still funny because that allowed you to go into another self-deprecating joke. And you'll say, I sound like Kermit the Frog, and I go, fuck, you said it, you broke the ice, so now you broke the ice, and that's fucking great because now first of all, you disarm the next comic. So if the next comic wants to make fun of you, they can't because you've already made that joke. So they're not going to go back to that well.
Right.
What'd you say?
I already did 4 minutes of that.
Right. You just did 4 minutes of that. So now you're not going to, what are you going to do? Go back. What are you going to do? Do the bit that he already did about himself?
Right.
You and Bruce are very, have a very unique sound. A lot of the other guys, the other guy who, and from weeks of screaming at Bruce, and I got to hear myself on the, I got to listen, I got to put the headphones on and off. The other guy that likes to see, and I can't do it because I haven't seen him in a while, is Brad Golby. And Brad Golby talks like this. And see, my tone is off, but he's got a higher octave than me. And Brad Golby has a higher octave, but he's into some weird, he's finding himself and he's dressing up in a suit and tie, but kind of like his gimmick now is he's gone on like, he looks like a college adjunct. He looks like a professor in training.
Yeah. He looks like a high school teacher that doesn't want to be there.
No. And Ian goes, he sounds like a banjo. Yeah. So the big thing that everybody knows of me and Brad Golby is he got me plastered at this open mic at Noreen's off of Tropicana. And he goes, I have a drink, you have a drink, and I have to hear him because the problem is, like, you and I talk pretty frequently, so you are still kind of fresh in my mind. So if I were to do a Kermit the Frog, you don't sound exactly like Kermit the Frog. You have a different tone to your voice. Brad Golby, I have to be around him, and then, I mean, there was a guy I knew when I was in radio, and his name was I haven't seen him in a while. He had a show on WVOX 1460 AM, and the show was called 1776 Till Now. And the guy with Richard, I can't remember the name.
Richard Kiss?
No. It was a local. Hold on a second.
Maybe your
Richard
arms are
Dwyer.
dying.
Richard Dwyer.
Okay.
And Richard Dwyer was a grizzled out like veteran. Okay.
Okay.
And Richard Dwyer had a full fucking hair, silvery goddamn mane. And let me tell you shit that I've experienced in Nam. Let me tell you about them cutting off a fucking guy's cock and shoving it in his mouth.
Jesus.
And then, man, then it fucking shoot this one little kid up because he's running out of Marine. And the Marine's going, don't worry, kid, I got you. And his sergeant lights him up with a 9. And the kid fucking explodes because he had a fucking strap on him of grenade.
Wow.
And he would tell you the story, and he wouldn't do the Bruce coughing thing. Because Bruce is trying to like get the this guy is like wheezing into a sentence. And he would go,
Okay.
and then you would ask him, and he was always whittling. He had one thumb, which just the nail is almost gone. And he's whittling at it with a Bowie knife.
Okay.
And he's going, back in Nam. And all these stories were about Nam, man. And he would tell you these veteran stories and it'd be fucking extreme. But I remembered the guy had the steely hair, the steely blue eyes, bronze skin, and it was like the dad in Ren and Stimpy who had the sickly kid. And the dad's just beating the shit out of Ren and Stimpy because he thinks they're going to harm his kid. Right. My little Jimmy. These are the hands of a working man. So he had that look to him. He had the neck that was just a solid barrel.
Okay.
Where cleft chin and he would go, Rob, our country is a covenant. 1776 till now, where men and women fought for 200 years to give you, and he would lean into every word, and I loved it. It was unlike anything. He would lean into every single fucking word, and
that would be intense.
And he was intense. And then he would go like this. He goes, Rob, what do you know about 9/11?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And I'd go, what are you talking about, Rich? And he goes, Rob, what structures were destroyed at 9/11? The World Trade Center. Well, those are the ones they got. I'm asking you.
Wow.
I'm asking you about the ones they fucking missed. What do you... Yeah, they found a fucking bomber on the George Washington Bridge.
Wow.
Washed up on the East River downstream with C4 strapped to him.
Yeah, I don't want to hear stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like when it comes to stuff like that, ignorance is bliss.
Right. But the thing was, here's the thing now. I know the guy. Do I know if he's telling me the truth? I'm assuming he does. He knows veterans commissions. People, you would go somewhere where Hillary Clinton would be, where General Wesley Clark would be, and the fucking people knew him. The people knew who he was. So he's telling me grizzled out stories for fucking years while I'm working at this radio station. And he would go, Rob, what I want you to do is I want you to interview World War II vets. I want you to take this story like an onion, and you've got to peel back the layers of the onion until you get to the core of the story. That's what we're trying to do here, Rob. We got to get to the core of the freaking story, man. And then I'd played him stuff, and he goes, oh, my God, that's great. That fucking little guy dodged a hand grenade.
Well, you know where there will be no grenades?
Night wrestling?
This Sunday at Versus Pro Studios.
Okay, this Sunday at Versus Pro Studios on Maryland Boulevard at the Boulevard Mall, we will see. Well, what's the name of the promotion? What's the name of
Catch
the?
Pro Wrestling.
No, I mean of the show. I was going to set up for
Catch
big.
Deep Blue Siege.
The Deep Blue Siege. I got to see. I went from that deep voice. The Deep Blue Siege.
Hey, so they're doing the have you seen the WWE announcer tryouts?
You told me about this, and somebody else. Oh my God! It wasn't you who told me about this.
I think you should try out for that. They got the SummerSlam WWE announcer tryouts in Las Vegas. SummerSlam's in Las Vegas.
Do you have to get tickets?
You try out. There's go to WWE.com or whatever. There's a submission form. You submit your video. I had a buddy. His name is Leon Hader. He's one of the Players Club. He's posting all his videos. He's doing like Undertaker's entrance and Bianca Belair's entrance and Edge's entrance, and they're really good. I think you should try that.
Now, how do you do that? So I'm going to WWE.com?
Sure, I think it's there. Yeah.
Because they got WWE Performance Center.
Look up WWE announcer submission. Google that.
Yeah, that's what I did.
And there'll probably be some like form you put out, and then it'll be like, so he's doing it through TikTok. So he'll do it, and it'll say like, get ready to introduce the Undertaker, and it'll go 1, 2, 3, and it'll go from Death Valley, weighing 300 pounds.
Oh yeah, they're using it on TikTok. On TikTok.
Yeah. So you
WWE
looks the video. You do it with the video. You record it. You submit it, and then they're gonna pick an announcer.
Jesus.
I think you do really well. Here, let's do it right now. Let's do it for fun. I'm gonna give you a superstar. I'm gonna give you a city and state they're from. I'm gonna give you a weight, and then the superstar. And
so they were talking about in-ring announcer.
Yes, in-ring announcer.
I can do that. Yeah.
We're try it. I'm gonna give you random. I'm gonna give you random stuff. Here we go.
All right, let me try this.
From Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Right. Weighing 210 pounds. Adam Cole.
From Boston, Massachusetts, weighing 210 pounds, Adam Cole.
There you go. See? There it is.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to give you one more random one.
Okay.
From Charlotte, North Carolina, weighing 210 pounds, Ric Flair.
From Charlotte, North Carolina, weighing 210 pounds, he is the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Somebody sign this man.
Then Bruce is gonna go, oh wow, if you like that. No, you got to be careful not to do the Rob Buffer thing, because if you do, let's get ready to.
Yeah.
Oh, you get sued.
They'll sue the shit out of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's get ready to not get sued.
Listen, if I didn't have 3 announcers signed up for Cat's Pro Deep Blue Siege, I'd have you do some ring announcing.
Well, if you've got in future promotions, I would love to do that. Absolutely love to do that.
Me and Anthony Stalkup, you remember him with the beard from Kentucky?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be doing commentary during the show.
Okay, yeah. I mean, well, the thing is, the wrestler. So there's to do an announcer and to go, and from this corner, and in this corner, with a combined weight of 571 pounds, they are the New Day. And you go, okay, fine. Right.
That you can do with a script.
Now, but when you're doing commentary, that's a little bit different, because now you got to have long game. You got to know moves. You can't fuck up on the moves, because you can only do that once or twice, and you can only you can get away with fucking up on calling a match if you're if you're big. Like if JR fucks up on calling a match, you go, well, who the fuck are you? He's Jim Ross.
Right. Jim Ross has called the AEW Championship, the WWE Championship twice, and
he was on WCW.
People have lost their mind on Twitter, but then also people are like, dude, it's Jim Ross.
Well, the thing that he screwed up with was
the guy had
3 weeks ago.
The guy's 70 years old. The
Right.
guy's a legend.
Well, and the thing is he worked for WWE for 20 something years.
Right.
And he goes, and we thank you for tuning in to WWE Dynamite. Goodbye, everybody. And it was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
But he can do that because,
He can do that.
He's a legend.
And he apologized, and he goes, I apologize, but I'm not quitting.
Right.
But when he comes in, he still has catchphrases. It's Wednesday night, and you know what that means. And you're like,
see, I love that they've been doing that since Brody Lee passed.
Were they doing that since Brody? Was that where that came from?
Yeah, because if you ever followed his Twitter, most of his tweets were, "It's Monday night, you know what that means. It's Wednesday night, you know what that means." And
also, Brody Lee was the one saying it's Monday night, you know what that means, or was it Jim Ross?
That was most of his Twitter interactions. Tweets were like, "It's Wednesday, you know what that means."
Now, is that Brody Lee or Jim Ross who was saying that in the tweets?
Brody Lee.
Oh, okay.
So if you go back to earlier episodes of AEW, they weren't doing that.
Yeah, they weren't.
And then when Brody passed, they kind of started doing that in a way to show love.
They did so many things. They took the Dark Order. They made the Dark Order kind of an obscure, angst-riddled, just stable of just the heels, and overnight they made them faces.
Well, they were kind of a joke for a little while.
Yeah, they were. Evil Uno was just,
people didn't take them that serious, and then Brody came in as the Exalted One and made them a serious faction. And then he passed away, and they instantly became babies.
Yeah,
and they've been babies ever since. I feel like. Honestly,
by the way, you got a light or something? I've been letting you. Can we see you? I don't know if you
I'm
got.
Sorry, I'm trying.
That's right. That's fine. That's fine. Right now, it looks like you're in witness protection.
Yeah. Can you change my voice?
So right now, he touched me in a really bad spot, and I just don't want to. I don't want to be known. I'm trying to hide.
So they got turned into babies. The crowd will not let them not be babies, and they've been babies ever since. And I really like the long storyline they've had with Hangman Adam Page.
Now, here's my question: is he in the Dark Order?
I mean, I don't think he's like an official member.
But remember, Colt Cabana was never an official member, and then they just kind of wrote him in as.
And now Colt Cabana's in everything they do.
But here's the thing: he's not Colt Cabana anymore. I mean, he is, but he's not. You don't talk about him in the singular.
No.
He's.
Well, I think with the Adam storyline, I think it's like they're his friends, and they have his back, and they support him, and they want him to succeed. And I think the long storyline of him just not having the confidence that he should have to take the championship from whoever has it, I think it's a beautiful storyline. I think it's well written, and I like that he's coming so close, yet just hasn't taken the championship. I think it's beautiful storytelling.
Well, that was the same thing that they did with wow, I'm blanking out on our current tag team champions.
But how long have they been doing that? If you look back to AEW's first couple of episodes, they've been telling this story.
Yeah.
And how long has AEW been a business? What, 3 years now?
Yeah, two.
2 years. 2 years. So this is a 2-year-long storyline. That's unheard of in wrestling nowadays.
Right. But they did that with the Young Bucks, where the Young Bucks could never seem to grab it, and it was understood that the Young Bucks were going to be the first ones. And then that didn't happen. It didn't happen. Well, that's not the perspective I wanted. It didn't happen. The Young Bucks never became the tag team champions until what, third time around?
Yeah.
And it was SCU.
Yes.
And then it was after SCU, it was Cash and Wheeler.
Yes.
Why is their tag name eluding me?
FTR.
FTR, which could stand for anything. Fuck the Revolution. Fuck the Revolution. Revolution or
the Revival.
Fuck the Revival. They were the Revival.
Because that's what their name was in
WWE, which I didn't like them in WWE because they were not packaged right. They were packaged as just.
Do you think they're packaged well in AEW?
Better than they were in WWE.
Yes.
In WWE, they were two guys who were just brawlers. They were never packaged as anything else but just two brawlers. They had no
depth.
They had no depth. They had no story behind them. We didn't know what they stood for. We didn't know anything about them except we're pissed off about all the high flying crap. Okay, right. That's a start. Right. That's not your whole story, and that's all their story was.
Right.
So in what do we know about them now? We know they're Christian. They brought that up. They're two old Christian boys. We know that they're old school.
They've had a hard life.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
They've had a hard life.
They've had a hard life. There's depth to the characters. They bringing on Tully Blanchard. By the way, I'm interested to see what they do with Proud and Powerful because they now it's been 2 years, and they've been reunited with Conan, and on Impact Wrestling, Conan was their manager, and they were LAX, Latin American Exchange. That's when they brought in Diamante. If you look at her ring gear, her ring attire says LAX, stamped across her ass.
They had that big dude too. What was the big dude's name?
Hernandez.
They had Hernandez too, right?
Right, and they had four guys. They had Homicide, Hernandez, and then they had the other two.
Right.
You had.
And then they had a woman,
which was Diamante.
Okay.
And there was another one too. I think, but it was Diamante. Hold on.
And then Conan was the manager.
Yes, and then guess who the other manager was? Because they split into two teams and they dueled each other. Eddie Kingston.
Oh.
Eddie Kingston.
Wow.
Eddie Kingston came up. So here's the thing. They've had actually a big team. They're not quite Bullet Club, but they've had Hernandez, Homicide, Machete, Hector Guerrero, Salinas, Diamante, Low-Key, Santana and Ortiz are the most notable guys. Apollo, they've got and Daga. Daga's the guy who's currently married to Tully Blanchard's daughter, Tessa Blanchard.
Wow, they had like a 9-man faction?
But no, not at once. They were always two at a time, four at a time.
Iterations.
Right.
These are different iterations of LAX.
Right, and they started in 2005 to 2009, disappeared.
Okay.
Came back in 2011 to 2015, disappeared. 2017 to 2019, disappeared. And now it says 2021.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask you about this, because I have a very strong opinion about what I'm about to ask you, and I want to know what your opinion is.
Okay, I'm interested. You caught my interest.
How do you feel about all the different factions and them having multiple members and there being large groups and factions? Are you we should have a lot of singles and tag teams, and then maybe a couple of factions? Or to you, does it make sense that everybody should be a part of a faction and have somebody have their back?
All right, here's the deal. And I'm, it's hot as fucker out here, so I'm taking my headphones on and off. This is my thought. WWE doesn't have a fucking faction at all.
No.
Which is fucking lame. And AEW's got too goddamn many.
Right. Impact
Wrestling doesn't have any, but I know with Impact Wrestling, one's not too far around the corner. So AEW has Dark Order. It has the Inner Circle. It
Yes.
has
The Pinnacle.
the Pinnacle, and those are the three big ones. Then it has
Yes.
the Nightmare Family, the Nightmare
Yes.
Factory. There's too
Yes.
fucking many. Then
Yeah.
there's Taz's
Well, then
crew.
they have the Elite.
The
They
Elite.
have Taz's.
There's too many. There's
Yeah.
too many, and when you do it, it waters down the effectiveness of any one of them. Another.
Well, here's why I ask. Do you remember the original NWO?
You know what? A funny story about that. One of the few times ever that I watched WCW was on the night that the NWO invaded, and it was Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, and I don't know if it was Hall and Nash yet. And Hulk Hogan was doing these ads for Right Guard, antiperspirant. And, and the catchphrase was anything less would be uncivilized. So he comes out with the WCW belt, spray paints NWO on it, and he goes, anything less would be too civilized. And that's when NWO started.
Right.
And
WCW did a thing where they had NWO, and then they had
the Wolfpack. They had the what?
And they had the Wolfpack.
Yeah, the Wolfpack.
So they had like the entire roster was two factions pretty much.
Well, yes, because they started advertising it as WCW NWO. That's the way they would advertise their pay-per-views.
WCW.
Yes.
Where it was like NWO versus like Sting and like Rey Mysterio. And there was a couple of diehard people.
And by the way, guess who was in NWO that we just mentioned earlier? It was in the Wolfpack. Conan was in the NWO Wolfpack.
So I think that factions, and this is going to push to another subject, but I think when it comes to factions, like you said, when you have way too many teams,
it
waters it down because then like I think the idea of having a faction should bring you an advantage. Okay, if you have a tag team versus a tag team and one tag team has a faction to support them, it gives an advantage to that team. But if there's two tag teams and they both have 5 other guys at the ring, nobody has an advantage.
No, and that's the thing. And actually, I was wrong because the Elite, half of the Elite is from Impact Wrestling.
Yes.
And now the Bullet Club is showing up in Impact Wrestling and AEW.
Yes.
And they're going to take Chris Bay and they're going to put him on they're talking about having him, Jay White's going to put him on the Bullet Club. So now they're going to have a Bullet Club representative in Impact Wrestling. And they had, I can't remember the guy's name. He's from Bullet Club, big Hawaiian guy.
Tamatanga? The Samoan?
No. Big tall guy like Kula. I can't remember. Hold on. And Ian Raniere goes factions versus independent creates amazing stories, i.e. Sting versus NWO. But hold on.
But here's where my point was going. If you have so many factions, it takes away from the advantages. See, I like when storylines when you have an old school babyface storyline was 3-on-1, 4-on-1, always beating the crap out of the good guy, always having an advantage for week in, week out, and then
Hikuleo.
Yeah, some stipulation would happen, and then it would be a 1-on-1 fight, and the good guy would win. And it would be like the crowd would go nuts because they'd be like, the good guy finally got his chance for even odds, and he finally won, and it's a big deal. You can't have that when it's Inner Circle versus Pinnacle every week. You can't have that when it's Nightmare Factory versus Pinnacle and it's 5-on-5. You know what I mean? So it's like,
right. Well, it would be
later,
Well, now
sooner or later, it's going to be it's going to get boring.
And that's the problem with AEW. Now that the forbidden door has been opened, it's spread. I haven't seen anything with with Ring of Honor ROH. Maybe there is. I don't know. I don't follow them as much because I just can't. I don't know. I don't know what
didn't they have
the
a
fuck
deal
I'm
with
watching.
New Japan?
They do, but
Didn't they have
I never know what I'm watching. Is what I'm watching recent? I never know. Mike Bennett showed up once, and I'm like, okay, there's Mike Bennett. Okay, all right, there's EC3. What am I watching? Is it recent? Right. Is it important? Are they going for any titles? I don't know what I'm watching.
Is this pre-recorded?
Right. This was what, when I was a kid, ECW was on every night. Every night ECW was on 3 a.m. Okay. Yeah. And every night was a bunch of fucking house matches. And it was always Tajiri or Al Snow. And you never knew what, you never saw Rob Van Dam ever. Right. He would be mentioned.
Well, because he was a special attraction.
Right. Right. So now I'm watching every night. I'm going, is what I'm watching relevant to anything that's going on? No.
Is it current?
No, I don't know. That's when I was so excited to see MLW, and it's from 2 years ago. And they're airing it as if it's new. And then I see, Maxwell Jacob Friedman acting like he's 19. And the gimmick was he had coffee for the first time and he wouldn't shut the fuck up. And I'm like, hey, man, let me tell you something, man. We're going to mess you up, man. We're going to be the best faction MLW's ever seen, man. Come on, man. Come on. And they're like, all right, calm down, MJF. Yeah, a little bit too much coffee. And you're like, I love this stuff. And I'm like, all right. But now you're airing this on as something new.
Right.
But this is 2 years ago, and I'm watching him live. This is like why I don't watch New Japan that much, because everything in New Japan that hits is a year and a half old.
Right.
When I was watching New Japan, I'm like, all right, wait a minute. Is that Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles? Yeah. What the fuck am I watching here? They're on WWE. This is dated.
They've been in WWE for 2 years now.
Well, it was like about 6 months. And I'm watching, and it was the episode where AJ Styles gets kicked out of the Bullet Club by Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega and all the Bullet Club members beat the shit out of AJ Styles and throw his ass out of the ring because he's going up to WWE. Right. So there's
a fun faction of 30 guys.
Yeah. Well, see, this is the problem. WWE can't do anything right, even when you hand it to them. So there's two things.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No. They got Nikki ASH, which is Nikki Cross, a Scottish woman, and her thing is she's a fucking superhero butterfly thing.
I like it,
but it's not going over.
Right,
it's not going over like they would want it to.
They tried something and it failed,
and now they have. And I think that they feel that they have to ride it out. And it's not
they're
hoping
it'll get over, and they're hoping it'll sell merch.
But I don't care about it, and I don't care about it because automatically the crowd's not invested in it. So let me see if I can just cover you for 1 second. So there she is, and she's a butterfly. She's got a butterfly on her chest, and she wears a cape, and she's dressed up in gold, and she went from being this crazy Scottish woman to just being a comic relief who won the belt. So she won the women's belt through the Money in the Bank. She cashed in on Charlotte Flair, and then she beat Charlotte Flair last night, and she ran into the crowd with her belt, and nobody cared. She didn't get a pop. No one said Nikki Ash, because first of all, you made it awkward. This is where WWE fucks up. Okay. I'm a nobody. Okay. Marcus here has got more skin in the game. I don't even have my toe in the water. I put my pinky in the water. I can tell you that if you make a hook and people are uncertain of what the hook is, and you're uncertain of what the hook is she's Nikki Cross. So somehow, some way, somebody took claim to the name Nikki Cross is what I'm guessing. So they go, what do we do now? How do we change her name and not make it awkward? Okay, we'll call her Nikki Ash. Well, what the fuck does that mean? Everyone's gonna ask why. Okay, fine. ASH. Almost a superhero. I'm almost a superhero. So you go, so, I mean, and we got a guy over there, Jason, who's going, is wrestling fake or not, you got to write a story. That's the thing. You've got to write a compelling story.
I hate the term fake.
Because
wrestling is predetermined.
Yes,
but it is
and not always.
It is.
And
it
not
is
always.
not. It is not fake.
No,
you can't call wrestling fake.
No, and Bruce, and this is where me and Bruce got into a fighting match over.
Every single person steps into that ring knowing and trusting the other person they're in the ring with.
Yes.
Knowing that their safety is put in that other person's hands. Because anything can go wrong and it could be life-changing. Do you remember when Stone Cold broke Owen Hart's neck?
Or draws. I mean, you were talking
it's
about
the other way around. I think it's the other way around.
Yes.
I think Owen broke
Stone Cold's neck. He broke 2 of the vertebrae in his neck.
Exactly.
And Stone Cold had to get those bones fused.
From a move that's been done 1,000 times.
It was either a pile driver,
right? Pile
right?
driver.
Yeah.
And so wrestling is not fake. Wrestling is predetermined and practiced extremely.
When they told me to do the back roll, and you're a stiff guy who just, I work in a sales job, dude. I'm a stiff guy. I'm not a gymnastics.
You probably didn't even stretch before you
didn't stretch well. No. It's not a maneuver.
You're used to.
It's not something that my body's used to. And they tell you to roll backwards, and you're just flailing about that first time.
Yeah.
And now you land on your neck, and all your weight comes down on my neck, and 150 pounds comes crashing down on my neck. I could have been paralyzed.
Right.
So they have you sign a waiver just to train. You know, my manager, my job, I work at a Cons Home Plus, which sells appliances and furniture. My manager's like, dude, I can't lose you because you're trying something. And he goes, you're too old for that. And but so that's the reality of it. The reality of it is the physicality that goes into it. And the fact that, I mean, in a boxing match, they're there to knock each other's teeth out, maybe, but then what do? They play to points. And this is why this is why I got into an argument with Bruce. And Bruce, he's got a one-track mind.
Yes.
And I went, in boxing, what they do is they book 2 combatants that are either going to draw in the most ticket sales or where it's going to be a predetermined outcome. And Bruce is going, that's not true. And I go, yes, it is. When Mike Tyson was barred from boxing, they put him up against this guy named McNeely. And they had a 1-hour pre-show. They brought Kelsey Grammer out. They had, singers and this and that. The match was over in 1:08. What happened? First 8 seconds in, McNeely trips over his own feet, falls on the ground. Now you're trying to tell me that Don King, the promoter, with his mannerisms and his troll hair,
his gimmick.
It's a gimmick. It's the same as wrestling. You picked an opponent that Tyson would never lose to. Watch Manny Pacquiao versus the money team, Floyd Mayweather.
Yes.
And Mayweather doesn't hit him. He's dodging. He's playing for points. This is predetermined. It's the same as wrestling. It's fake. It's even faker than wrestling, because wrestling is, I'm trying to get to a point. It's like climbing a mountain. Wrestling is climbing a mountain. I have to climb the mountain. That's real. Climbing Mount Everest is real, and I can die on the way to climbing Mount Everest. I have to pace myself. I have to make sure I have enough air in me. I have to make sure I can breathe. I have to know how to do this, and I have to go with somebody who's done it before, and they're relying on me to have at least a little bit of knowledge of how to climb rocks. Okay.
You're trusting that guy you're climbing the mountain with.
That's the reality. Now, my goal is the same. My goal is to get to the top. My goal is to get to, I know everything before me. I could see the road in front of me. How do I do it is different every time.
The road is predetermined. The trip up that mountain is real.
And that's what people don't understand. It's, Okay. I'm watching it, and you knew that when the two guys, and Wes would say it, what are you doing? And I don't know the names of the wrestlers, and I don't know. It was the guy had the guy in a headlock, and he's talking to him. Why he's got him in the headlock? He's got him in the headlock, and he's going. He goes, "What are you doing?" Well, I'm trying to call the next move. Why? I can see you. And he goes, "What do we do?" It goes, "DDT, bang, you're dead. Bang, you're dead." So they both get on the ground. He goes, "Now talk." And he yelled at them. He said, "Bang, you're dead. Bang, you're dead." And these two guys took a bump. They dropped to the ground. And the canvas is this thick. That's what you're jumping 9 feet in the air onto. You're jumping onto the liner they use for carpets. That gray shit that's underneath your carpet.
And wood.
So that's it. That's it. So your mat
people think those rings are trampolines.
Oh, no. It is 2x4s, planks with that thin gray mushy crap that's underneath your carpet. Right now, it's a liner between your floor and the carpet, and then canvas.
And it's about an inch thick, and that's it.
And you're jumping.
That's it.
You're jumping up and off the third rope.
They say taking 10 bumps on your back is like getting into a car accident.
I don't doubt it.
It's the same trauma. Taking 10 bumps is getting into a car accident.
And that's when you go, "Oh, but this is fake." What's fake?
You can't call that fake.
And the Bruce logic is, because it's predetermined, it's fake. Meanwhile, Patriots, they're taking signals from the they got some guy in the 50-yard line in the stands with his smartphone stealing signals.
Yeah.
The Astros stealing signals.
The Astros at the World Series.
But and none of those people, I said to Bruce, were those guys, when they were caught cheating, did they have to give back their victories? No, they didn't. So now you that's fake. That's fake. That's what people don't get. And boxing is set up and rigged. The premise to what was the premise of Pulp Fiction? Bruce Willis is told to throw a fight. He doesn't want to do it.
Well, think about it. You got a guy like Money Mayweather versus a YouTube star.
Jake Paul. Yeah, Jake Paul.
So you got Jake Paul, who's never boxed a professional match in his life, or has maybe boxed one amateur match. And you have a guy who's made millions of dollars as a professional boxer.
But Marcus, it's real.
If you were to tell me that a YouTube star walking out of the streets got in the ring with a guy who's made millions and millions of dollars professional boxing, I would assume that Jake Paul got stretched out of there.
Right. And
I would assume that man is still in bad shape, still recovering from their fight.
Now, and I want to say this, we're talking about that kind of scenario. Bad Bunny, the Latin hip hop star of sorts. What does
WWE superstar Bad Bunny?
Right. I don't know who the fuck he is. I'm not into Latin music. All these girls in my job are all Mexican girls, and they're creaming over this guy. They've got they've got one hand on their smartphone and the other hand in their pants when they see fucking Bad Bunny. They're soaked.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. But what did that guy do? He trained and did polished wrestling moves.
Yes.
He did a crossbody from the top rope. He did a Canadian destroyer.
Yes.
Fake. No, not fake. Because if he fucks up a Canadian destroyer, he's breaking his neck or the other guy. He dies.
Somebody dies. Right.
You fuck up a crossbody and you miss, you hit your head on the mat and you're concussed. You break your neck.
Right.
You talked about D'Lo Brown. D'Lo Brown, do I pull that up? Yeah, let me pull up D'Lo Brown. All right, D'Lo Brown, there was a guy named Droz. And Droz was a wrestler in the 90s.
The Headbangers.
Yep. And he goes and he wrestles D'Lo Brown. D'Lo Brown made Draws a paraplegic.
Yes.
Okay, match went wrong.
I saw a recent documentary. He is a paraplegic in one of those electric wheelchairs. He will never be able to walk again.
That's when it happened. D'Lo Brown put him in a DDT from the middle rope, if I'm not mistaken. He spiked him on the ground.
Yes.
And it's a common move. And when it happened, Draws, his spinal cord snapped.
Yes.
D'Lo Brown did nothing wrong. It's a common move. And Draws is permanently, but this is fake.
And that man's life has changed forever.
And by the way, he is the most positive fucker out there because he took it in stride. He could have been bitter about it. He could have been bitter about it. He stayed positive, and that's where I'm like, what are you talking about? It's fake.
You can't call it fake.
Wait a minute. Football is I go up 10 yards and I got to kick the ball off. What's real about that?
That's just not the right word to use.
It shows a lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
It shows a lack of knowledge as to what you're talking about.
It's entertainment, and it's something that you're supposed to enjoy.
But all sports are entertainment.
Right.
There's nothing.
And I don't understand why pro wrestling gets that stigma. That stigma of, oh, it's fake, or oh, it's this, or oh, it's that.
Because it's
everything you watch is that. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
You go and watch Marvel movies. You know that that's not really happening.
Obviously.
But you still pay your $37 to go watch the Marvel movie.
Right.
And you don't leave and you go, oh, that was fake, or oh, that was this, or oh, that was that.
Well, no, people thought the Matrix was real.
So you can't. I hate when people call wrestling fake.
Yeah, no, and you know what it was? I had to step back from it and then watch the moves happening an inch away from your face and going, well, all right, now I know why it's real. I said it as a fan defiantly, but I didn't understand why I was saying it. I didn't have a reason except to say defiantly, this is real because these guys are athletic. And Bruce would go, or anybody else would go, well, it's athletic, but it ain't real. Well, no, again, it's how do I get from point A to B? It's how do I get from point A to B?
Anybody who says wrestling's fake should allow a pro wrestler to hit them with a chair.
Well, now we got a guy over here, Jason, and he's going, he's a viewer, and he's going, hey, well, it's not real wrestling, and real wrestling with, the guys squatting on each other in the ring mat and all of that. So when they call it pro wrestling, we're talking about we're not talking about executing a grapple move. We're talking about, all right, and you're going to get a DDT. You're going to get a clothesline.
We're not talking about collegiate wrestling.
Yeah. That's why they call it collegiate wrestling or amateur wrestling.
Because there's a point system.
There's a point. Exactly. That's why pro wrestling is called pro wrestling. It has its own genre. It has its own name. It has its own title. I'm not talking about, there's different forms of wrestling. And going into a ring and watching what you have to do to be proficient enough to where a promotion picks you up is fucking difficult. It's a long climb, and you're going to get injured along the way, and some guys don't make it. There was a guy, and I don't know if I ever introduced you to him. His name was Psycho. His wrestling name was Psycho, and he was in Future Stars. And he gets power bombed by Kevin Nash. Fractured his spine.
He went 10 feet in the air.
Yeah.
He went 10 feet in the air and got slammed on his back.
Did I show you that?
No, but Kevin Nash is 7 foot tall.
Right, he did. He got thrown 10 feet in the air.
The power bomb puts him up at 10 feet in the air. I wish anybody who calls wrestling fake to go jump off their roof and land on their back.
You're done. You're fucking done.
And tell me that's fake.
So what happens is he gets power bombed. He knows he's injured. He rolls out of the ring. He wrestled one more time. He's fucked up his back for life, and he's in his 20s, maybe early 30s. And his name was Tim. He was a bartender.
And he's done.
And he's done. And he's probably got another 30 or 40 hard years ahead of him.
With a fucked up back.
With a fucked up back. And by the way, do you think he would want to take it back? No, because he got power bombed by Kevin Nash, by Diesel.
I dare somebody who calls it fake to go up to Tim at the bar and tell him wrestling's fake.
Oh yeah, you get your teeth knocked out, and you would deserve it because you don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about, you're trying to compare your high school little headgear shit to, and by the way, Kurt Angle. Go ask Kurt Angle, who's an Olympic gold medalist. Mark Henry.
Have you seen him recently? How stiff he is. That man,
Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle cannot move his head to the left or right.
Oh God, he's done.
And he's got to live like that the rest of his life.
And what is he now, in his 40s, maybe 50s?
He's probably 51, 52 years old.
Let me look it up.
He's got another 25 years of life.
He's 52 years old.
52 years old, and he's not going to be able to move his neck for the next 25 years.
Unless, oh God, I'm looking at pictures of him. He looks.
If you watch his videos of recent, where he's like doing videos where he's like eating spaghetti and cutting it with scissors, you know, he's making a joke. He can't move his neck.
Yeah, he looks stiff.
He looks stiff, and he's got to live with that the rest of his life.
Yeah, let me see.
Do you think he'd take it back?
No, that was the best, you know. Let me see if I can, let's bring him on over here. Yeah, Kurt Angle, and this is a little, his neck is very stiff. They kind of made him into a Stone Cold Steve Austin type later on in his career. But what you're watching, it's almost as if you're taking all that collegiate wrestling and you're taking it to another level, because collegiate wrestling doesn't have a ring. Collegiate wrestling doesn't have them, and collegiate wrestling, there is a matter of restraint in wrestling that's even more difficult.
You're not taking bumps. I mean, yeah, you're getting suplexed sometimes.
Right.
You know, if the guy's lucky, he'll get you in he'll throw you around a little bit. But you're not taking bumps. You're not taking.
There's no flying. There's no high flying.
Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy in their heyday were taking 60 bumps a match.
Yeah, and they're still taking more bumps than anyone else. By the way, I wanted to get this. Jeff Hardy was going to have a great feud going on with Karrion Kross, and he is got the Rona. So
another Vegas guy.
A what?
Karrion Kross is another Vegas guy. He came from FSW.
Yes. But where is Scarlett Bordeaux, his wife? Why
I don't know what they're going to do. I read something on Twitter. Somebody thinks what they're going to do is they're going to have Karrion lose a bunch on Raw by himself.
Yeah.
And he's going to start to lose confidence.
And then she shows up.
And then she shows up and switches it around for him.
And also what I want to know is, why the hell do we have to do this NXT bullshit? I mean, they've got Frankie Monet on NXT. We know she's Taya Valkyrie. I'm going to cringe when they try to introduce her like we don't know who the fuck she is. We know who she is.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem with WWE is they
insult their audience.
They think their audience is stupid.
Dewdrop.
They think that a lot of these people don't watch indie wrestling, and they just assume. Here's the thing. Somebody put this into perspective for me. WWE is not a wrestling company. WWE is an entertainment company.
Right.
That makes wrestling content.
I see what you're saying.
If you look at it like that, because AEW is a wrestling company. Ring of Honor is a wrestling company. New Japan Pro Wrestling is a wrestling company. WWE is an entertainment company that makes wrestling content.
Yeah.
If you look at it at that perspective, that's why when Vince McMahon says AEW isn't my competition, it's not because
they're doing two different things.
It's not because AEW isn't a good product and it could take WWE out of business. It's because WWE's competition is Disney. WWE's competition is Marvel. WWE's competition is Nickelodeon.
Well, it's funny you should say that. See, that this harkens back to what this our viewer Jason is saying. He's saying, hey, what you're watching is not wrestling. If you're comparing everything to the lens of WWE and their job is to entertain you, and you're looking at really telegraphed moves, you're gonna look at this and go, all right, this is they're doing athletic things. But I don't see the risk in the ring. I don't see the risk. I don't see the risk for the reward. So you're looking at this going, okay, I'm not seeing what this guy is seeing. I'm not seeing what Rob saw going to a school for this. And if they say to you, okay, guy, what do you do for a living? Oh, well, I sell furniture. All right, I want you to do a forward roll in a ring. I want you to jump over the top 3 ropes and then land. I want you to run around in a circle in the balls of your feet for 5 minutes. All right, now you're going to run. I want you to hit the ropes, but you got to watch how you're running, because if you're running and you're not in sync with the other guy, the ring is plexing. You're going to hyperextend your knee.
Right.
And you're going, well, wait a minute now. This isn't what I thought it was. No, it's not what you thought it was. So stop saying it. Because there's a reason. Bruce goes, well, you're like a guy, man, who's just like the fit Trump, man. You're like a Trumper, man. No, I'm talking from a person who's there now, and you're talking about some Macho Man match you saw in '87. We're talking about two different things. We're talking about two different things. Well, man, Ricky Steamboat, man, I don't. And even those guys would knock you on your ass and go, brother, you need an education.
Right.
And then they would laugh at you. He goes, oh, man, I know more than you. What do you know more than? What do you know more than?
Look up, I forget his first name, but his last name's Schultz. Look up the interview where the interviewer asked him if wrestling's fake.
Oh, yeah. And he gives him a chop.
It's a real short video. You can even play it right now. If you
probably going to, I gotta be careful because Facebook.
Okay. Well, there's a video where an interviewer asked a professional
I think it was Geraldo Rivera.
He asked if wrestling was fake, and the man slapped him in the mouth.
And he goes, was that fake?
He looked at him and he goes, is that fake?
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's the whole freaking point is now do that for 10 minutes.
Yes.
And
take bumps while doing it.
Take bumps while doing it, but not even that. When you've done that match, the match that you saw them do, they've probably practiced that match 3 or 4 times.
10 years.
Oh, yeah, 10 years. But with that performer that night, because the whole point is this. It's almost like a manual. And you go, okay, I know what these 20 moves are. You know how to respond to these 20 moves. So somebody's asking me, what difference does it make how athletic they are if their ending each match is predetermined? What's the sense of competition? What's the point of taking such risk if victory is irrelevant? No, the victory is the reward for all the work that you put into it, like anything else in life. And when you've got sports out there where people are actively cheating, and boxing is my favorite because boxing is rigged half the damn time.
I'm going to let you finish your thought, and then I'm going to retort.
Yeah. Boxing is rigged half the damn time. They're picking matches. They're picking winners and losers. You know that. You know when you're watching these Jake Paul matches, that's a joke. when they did Colin McGregor versus Mayweather. That was a joke match. That was a joke match that garnered millions of dollars. No one would dare question that as a sport. And we know what the result's going to be. The boxer versus the internet star, the boxer is going to win. The boxer versus the MMA fighter, when there's boxing rules in play, the boxer is going to win. No one questions that. You go, that's a sport. That's a sport. Oh, we're going to put Ronda Rousey in with a scrub. That's a sport.
Ronda would manhandle that person.
Oh, we're going to put the New England Patriots up against the Cleveland Browns. That's a sport. But you know the ending already. You know the ending's going to be irrelevant. You know the Cleveland Browns are going to beat the Patriots. You know that they're not going to beat the 2010 Patriots.
The win and loss don't matter. It's entertaining. It's entertaining the people that have paid $15 to watch that show. That's
or
it.
$100 to stand on to sit at the 50-yard line.
That's it. It's entertainment. I don't want to know everything that's going on.
Right.
I don't want to know who's going to win. I don't want to know who's going to be champion. I want to go in and I want to have my $15 worth and I want to be entertained and I want to go home happy. That's it.
And that's exactly right. And that's exactly it.
Also, let's look at it at a different perspective. Let's say I want to have a T-shirt drawn for my company. And I find an artist who's been drawing every day for 15 years of their life. They're a professional artist. They charge X amount of dollars for their art. They spent 15 years every day drawing. I say, hey, I want this design. Here's my money. They do it in 20 minutes. Is that fake? Is that bullshit? Did I get my money's worth? Or was I paying for an artist that's been working at their art for 15 years, perfecting their art for 15 years to have that piece of art done?
Well, so somebody says, so the guy's going, why isn't pro wrestling in the Olympics? And he goes, because real wrestling's in the Olympics. First of all, they just added for the first time in the Olympics skateboarding.
Pro skateboarding.
Pro skateboarding was not in the Olympics for years and years and years. Snowboarding was illegal. 25 years ago, you could not snowboard. You would get arrested for snowboarding. Now it's in the Olympics. They've got a half pipe, and they've got Shaun White going down the half pipe and earning medals. Now I have to take a sport, and I have to establish a set of rules. Thank you. I have to establish rules, and I have to find a way to reward people for something that was a street performance. So if I'm doing a half pipe and I do a 360 on a skateboard or a snowboard, now I've got to come up with a point system for this. How do I quantify a point system for wrestling?
Why aren't video games like Street Fighter in the Olympics?
And by the way, what is one of the wrestlers, Xavier Woods, do?
Plays video games.
He plays and he goes to ESL, and ESL has tournaments of video games.
You have a point system in Street Fighter. You have all the point systems in Street Fighter. You get to knock out the guy. You win by this or whatever. Why isn't that in the Olympics?
It's arbitrary.
That's the same question you're asking is why isn't wrestling in the Olympics? Why isn't Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat in the Olympics?
And who's that to say, 20, 30 years from now, that isn't in the Olympics?
That it isn't.
Right. And that's the thing. It's all arbitrary because skateboarding was not considered to be an Olympic-worthy sport.
Skateboarding is illegal most places. You can't go and skateboard at your local church or your local
grocery store.
Your government building. You can't skateboard at City Hall.
Go down the rails of your school. There's going to be 2 truant cops waiting for you. They'll break your skateboard over their knee, and they'll throw you in the back.
But that was just in the Olympics.
Now it's in the Olympics. Now it's in the Olympics because somebody decided, oh shit, this is a draw. This is something that's going to generate money. So they have
younger audiences will check out the Olympics because skateboarding's in it.
And you can't put pro wrestling in the Olympics because it would be impossible to quantify a point system for it. The whole point of the Olympics is, all right, now, if I were to take pro wrestling, I would have to go, okay, he just did a Hurricane Rana. Perfect.
That's 0.5 points.
10 points on the Hurricane Rana. Up right now, he is putting him in a sleeper hold. The sleeper hold seems perfectly applied. It would be too abstract to quantify points. And by the way, they tried to do that in Impact Wrestling. They tried to do that. They had an Impact Grand Champion, and they had 3 judges sit outside the ring, and you had 3 rounds of 3 minutes each in which to pin your opponent. If you could not pin your opponent in the 3-minute rounds, then what they would do is they would judge based on your performance, and nobody liked it because it was too abstract. There's no way to quantify a value on it. I
wouldn't be able to enjoy something like that.
And they did it for a year and they got rid of it. It disappeared because it
right.
Who would you get to put a point value to individual moves and executing individual moves? And it's the Olympics. I should wear a tuxedo. I don't know about that, but I do have a nice suit. Several nice suits. That's the point, is how would you quantify something like pro wrestling? And the whole point of pro wrestling is people don't understand what the sport is. And I will repeat this again. Definition of sport, because people don't get this: an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment. That's the definition of a sport. And I said this to Bruce, and he laughed in my face and went in one ear, out the other.
To me, that's the definition of wrestling.
And that's the definition of wrestling. That's a sport. And the people, that's it.
Is bowling a sport?
Yeah. What's bowling? Am I going to, was bowling in the Olympics? No. Is curling a sport? Yeah. What's curling? It's like bocce ball with big stone weights, and you sweep in front of them to get them to slide on the ice. It's stupid.
I don't understand how that's a sport and pro wrestling isn't.
That's a sport.
What's the one where you have the little racket and it has the little light, like waffle ball or whatever? What's that little?
Table tennis. Ping pong.
No, the one with the big net. The big net.
Badminton.
You have 2 people.
Badminton. That's a sport.
Is badminton a sport?
Yes, it is. It's an Olympic sport.
I can stand in my backyard while drinking a beer and play badminton. Am I an athlete?
And skateboarding, and now, and of course, I know the person's trolling a bit too, but he goes, skateboarding in the Olympics is real, WWF is fake, and
I would.
No, I know the guy. I know the guy, and he's trolling he's trying to get me.
How about you come to our show on Sunday?
Yep.
Come to our show on Sunday, Deep Blue Siege versus Pro Wrestling, and come watch men beat the shit out of each other.
And women.
And women. And I have 2 intergender matches, a man and a woman.
Sandra Moon.
Yes. How about after the show?
Ask them.
After they beat the shit out of each other, why don't you ask one of them if it's fake?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Ask someone. I've had my 15 seconds of exposure to the real sport of pro wrestling, and what always got me when you're debating anything is when a person on the other side starts laughing. That means they're already mentally checked out. They're not. Yeah. They're not part of a discussion.
They're not being serious.
No, they're not. They're there to troll. And like I said, you could not take pro wrestling and Olympify it. You couldn't take
Rob,
it and assign something to it. It wouldn't work.
Rob, I appreciate you. I got 5% on my battery.
Yeah, not a problem.
I just wanted to say thank you for letting me on the podcast. And
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we're gonna call it too. But I want to thank you and let me. Oh boy, I really want to get another set of hands. Because it's difficult sometimes too.
You need like a 2 bears 1 cave. You need a production guy.
Yes, I really do. I really do need a production guy.
To do all the sound effects and to do the internet searches and all that.
But I want to get one more shot at your I want to get one more shot at putting up your a promo. So let me see if I can pull that up. And I want to thank you. You've made a great show. What I like most about doing this is being able to talk to people, get an interview, really get to pick your brain. And you were great. You didn't leave anything on the table. You put it all out there. Didn't leave anything behind. So
I appreciate you and what you and Bruce do, and I just wanted to say thank you again for having me and letting me promote my show, and hopefully somebody will come check it out who wasn't sure what wrestling is, or maybe they decide to go to a wrestling show and they go, oh, I want to do that, I'm going to go train.
So it's going to be August 8th at Versus Pro Studios. 6:30 p.m. is your bell time, Pacific Standard Time, for Marcus Dietz's Deep Blue Siege.
Thanks, man.
And we love what you do, man. And you know what? I love that you found that special zone, man. And I'm really happy. Now I want to get rid of this freaking Deep Blue. I want to get rid of this damn logo because now I want to get you back again.
I just thought of something. Let me I have my belt that I had made, and I'm at home now. So,
well, we're gonna have to wrap it up. So what we'll do is this.
Give me 1 second.
Oh, you want to? Oh, you want to?
Pause it. Okay, 1 second. Let me just grab.
All right. Marcus is gonna close the show with his belt, people.
Yeah, I want to show people what everybody's gonna be fighting over.
Okay.
Everybody's gonna be fighting over the belt. I made a belt. I had a belt made, so I wanna. It's nice.
Let me see. Oh, you had a belt made.
I had a championship made. We're gonna crown a champion this Sunday.
Nice.
So look at that purple dragon. It's beautiful. So
all right. I'm
Sunday.
loving it, man. I'm loving it.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Well, Marcus, we thank you for coming out, man. And for me, and even for Bruce, who is currently on tour, I don't know. I don't think there's going to be a Champagnes tonight, but we definitely want to say thank you. And again, Marcus's show is going to be on Maryland Parkway at the Boulevard Mall Sunday at 6:30. And for Caption This, I am Rob Boslary, and you will see me here, 9 Pacific, every Tuesday night. I thank you so much. Good night, everybody.